Hello everybody, it's Pneuma here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about somewhat of a complicated, difficult topic. I want to talk about trauma and healing from trauma. And I want to talk about shadow work and how shadow work is our key, the doorway to healing from trauma. So first of all, trauma, we can think of it as fragmentation. So when we're not traumatized, we are a cohesive whole. But when we are traumatized, we are fragmented. And every time we experience a trauma, we fragment and we split off. So when we're in trauma, we're split in all different directions. And there's really not essentially a wholeness to us or even a whole person because we're fragmented. And so healing is bringing all of those parts back together. And it's actually what the word remembrance means. It's like the remembering of our parts. It's remembering what we are truly, remembering the wholeness of what we are. And a way to think about trauma is, if you remember back in some of my other videos where we were talking about the source of all things and how all things have emerged out of source. And if we think of that source like the sun or like love, shining like the sun. And from that light or from that love, we have sun rays or beams. And that's what we are. And those are beams that are moving out from the sun in vibration. And the furthest that it goes out from the sun or out from source, the very furthest that it possibly can go, the vibration will slow and eventually crystallize. And that's what we call our 3D reality. So our 3D reality is basically crystallized love, but it's the furthest that we can possibly get from the essence of love. And so one of the great beauties of being in this place is that we can have our expression of the furthest place from love, and we can tap into the truth of who we are, which is the highest part of love. So we can have all of the variations in this place. So it's very beautiful to be here. But if we don't know that and we don't understand how to navigate that, then we can just live in the fragmentation and in the distance from love and feel ourselves cut off from it. And what happens is that as we described in the other videos, when that light of the true essence of love or that sun shines through our prismatic selves, our crystallized selves, when it will show us the truth of what we are. So just like the light shining through a prism, it shows exactly what that prism is. It's going to show all the variations of color. In the same way with us, when that light of love is shining through us in our 3D experience, it shows the truth of who we are. There's nothing we can hide. Most of us are a mix between the prismatic self of what we are and our personality and the things that we have chosen to be in our lives and that we vibrate and resonate with, and alongside a whole bunch of shadows. And the shadows are the parts of ourselves that when that light is trying to come through and we got scared and we clenched up and we said, no, I don't want that, because we're scared because certain emotions are so painful that we shut them out and we just pretend they're not happening. And so then the light doesn't shine through us, but it shines around us. And then what happens is we create a shadow. And we're unaware of our shadows because we can't see them, first of all, because they're, shadows behind us. It's attached to us. We can't see it because all it is it's us blocking the light. It's blocking love. It's a defense mechanism. And those defense mechanisms they're beautiful. They're blessed, and we should bless them because our psyches, our bodies, our persons know how to keep us safe. And sometimes situations can come up that are so painful that we don't have the resources, the tools, or the cognizance to know how to deal with them. And so our body and our minds and our psyches split off so that we can survive. And it's such a blessed gift. I'm so glad that happens. But at the same time, it fragments us more and more. And we split off and we become split individuals. But what we want is to not be split. We want to be a cohesive whole. And that cohesive whole is what happens when we heal. And that's what the word remembrance means. It's a remembering. It's like bringing all of the members of ourselves back together. And so that's why when people will say, I'm remembering the truth of who I am. And it's about remembering the truth that we are actually a cohesive whole. The further back we go, the more whole we are, because eventually we're all the same person. But as we break down into our individual self, where we come out from the sunlight, from the source, is the truth of who we are. And all the way into this 3D reality, there is a cohesive whole that we are. And so we in order to be whole, we have to remember that. We have to bring all of those parts together. We have to heal that fragmentation, that splitting off. But how do we do that? The easy answer is, the way we do that is we stop doing this and resisting, but we allow that love, that light to move through us. I say the easy answer because it is actually the answer, but it's not so easy, because the thing that made us clench in the first place in fear is, it's a real thing. It's a pain. It's an emotion that can feel too complicated, too painful to even feel, to deal with. And we know, when we remember when we first experienced it, we didn't have the tools and we were scared. So we had to split off. And so it takes a huge amount of courage and faith to be able to go back into that emotion and say, well, now I do have the tools to handle that. And what the tools are that we need to be able to handle that is a knowing that we are in the hands of love, and that the universe does love us, and that we are safe, and that we are part of something bigger than us, and that we can trust that. And when we know that and we make that intention, then the universe will be gentle with us, but we have to make that step. We have to be courageous enough to go into those dark places, and that's called shadow work. And a lot of people want to deny that, and they want to say, don't think about your shadows, just move forward with positive thoughts. And that is a lovely idea once we don't have those shadows. But when we do have those shadows, we have to go into them, because the reality is that we will always be reflecting and manifesting from those shadows as long as they are there. And those shadows have a power in them, because they are not running from consciousness and from love. They're not in the light, but they're in the dark, and they're running from unconscious programs. And so they're living out, in a way, a life of their own. And we live them out because we don't even recognize. We think it's just us. Like, this is my personality, right? I'm just a mean, cold, hard person, or I'm depressed all the time, or life just kind of sucks and this is reality. But it's actually not. That's that subconscious programming that's running things, because it's still trying to protect us, and we haven't brought that consciousness to it yet. And so it's running the show. So we can see that in our own personal lives, and we can see it on the global scale, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But in our personal lives, we see it because when we are truly open and receiving love and are flowing from that place of source, then what manifests out, the prisms that manifest through us, the life that we live is beautiful, and it's in flow, and we experience all of the pleasures and satisfaction and wholeness, the liveliness, the joy of existence. But when our lives are instead reflecting pain and suffering and aggression and blocks and discord and fear, then we know that we're operating from our shadows. And when we do things unconsciously, when we're just mean and rude to people, or we just don't care about other people and we're completely self-absorbed, and these are all symptoms of living from our shadows. And so we have to, in the awakening process, be brave enough to go into those shadows and into those emotions that are so painful and bring love. In fact, just allow love. All we really have to do is make a commitment to, or actually make an intention to the universe, to God, to love itself, and just say, I am ready now to be open to your healing. I'm ready to be open to the truth of who I am, to the love that I am. And then as that love moves into us, we're going to feel those emotions again that were so painful. But just like a little child, we can feel ourselves held and loved by the universe, and we can make that decision to hold and love ourselves through that. Just like, because we are like little children in our 3D bodies. And so we just care for that, and we let it come through, and we soothe ourselves. And what happens is that we become informed, because love will inform us of the way to see what happened in a way that will become healing. So another very, very important thing to know about trauma is that trauma doesn't come from the experiences that we experience in our lives, the things that we think brought the trauma. Trauma comes from the way that we interpret those things. So for instance, we can have somebody who is in a car accident, and one person in the car accident could view it as, I can't believe this happened. I was on my way to work. I had things to do. I had meetings. I'm so mad. I'm so angry. My car's ruined now. I just hate my life. And now here I am in the hospital. Life sucks. I'm so angry at God. I'm angry at everybody. that would produce trauma. That person then would be splitting off and creating all kinds of shadows that are now going to become issues in their life. Another person could be in exactly the same situation and could say, I can't believe I lived. It's amazing. And I'm so thankful that this happened because it really is waking me up to the preciousness of my life and the preciousness of my relationships. And all I want to do is send love to everybody. And I want to show up better because I realize it's so fragile. I could die in any moment. And I'm so thankful that my life has been spared for another day. And that person is not only not going to produce trauma, but instead the energy that would have produced the trauma now is transformed into an energy that creates life, new life, and transformation. And that person is then going to be able to transform that situation into a benefit, and their life will become better because of the things that are happening. Now, it's hard to believe it, but that's true of every single thing that we experience, even the things that are unjust, even the most horrible things that have ever happened to us in our lives. And I know there are so many unspeakable atrocities, and it feels so flippant in a way to be saying this, but I know it's true. And I want all of you to know it's true, that all of those things that have happened, when we are able to allow ourselves to experience the emotion that is going along with the thing that happened, with the intention that we want love, we want that source, the truth of what we are, of who we are, to infuse us with meaning and understanding, then that same trauma becomes fuel to transform our lives and to become better and more spiritually awakened human beings. And this process is essential to our awakening, and not only in our individual lives, although it's essential in our individual lives, and I don't want to in any way negate that, but it's also essential on the global stage right now. And so just another example of when we have these traumas in our life, these unhealed traumas that we're unaware of, and let's say we set off on this spiritual awakening and we want to be awakened, but we have these traumas that we haven't looked at, which is the beginning of the process for almost all of us. We start gaining all this information. It's so amazing, but we have to then be willing to go into those dark places, because if we don't, well, here's just an example. We see this in a lot of religions. We could come from an abusive family. We could have our parents could be abusive. And from our relationship with our parents when we're little, that relationship on a subconscious level for every one of us becomes what we believe is the way that relationships work. It's what we believe our worth is. It's what we believe ultimately, for many of us, what we believe God is. And so many people have this idea in their minds that God is this abusive and horrible being like their parents. And in fact, many people will read their Quran or their Bibles or whatever, and they'll look at that figure in there and they'll project their traumas of the way they were abused by their parents or by their government or by their schools or by their teachers or by their friends or whoever, by the media, by all the shaming, all of these things. And we can project that into the images of the God in these books. And what happens is that we can turn into the opposite of what God is. And we can then be groveling and worshiping the problem, the trouble, the thing, the abuser, the impression that we had from our parents. We can think that that's God. And then we can go out and proclaim that to the world. We can even go out and hurt and harm other people on that premise, because we can think, well, we're better because God loves me more than God loves you because I'm special. And this is what happens when we don't heal our traumas and we try to think about awakening and spirituality in all of the blessed existences of life, is we infuse it with our own nonsense, our own trauma, and actually we can very much encourage the problem. But instead, I hope all of us can learn from this and can become the solution. And so on the global scale, what we're seeing right now is exactly what I'm talking about. On our collective scale, we have collective traumas. And those collective traumas are about, government control, about sicknesses taking us down, about the apocalypse, about the end of the world, about end times, about all of these things. This is all of our collective trauma. We're all scared. This is part of our collective fear. And so we project that out. And what we're seeing is, as the light of the truth of what we are shines through our collective, wow, what we get right now is devastation across the world, all over the place. And so we have to heal that if we're going to heal this planet. And it has to happen and start with each one of us individually. And as I've discussed before, we're like the cells in a body. And each one of those cells has to heal in order for this whole cancerous mess that we're in the middle of to heal. And so my challenge to every one of you here is listening to this is that you would make the intention to heal and to align with the truth of who you are and the truth of the essence of what you are, the source that you come from, the field that where all things emerge. Make the intention to align with that and let it move through you in all areas. And so make the intention to just live a life of allowance, of receptivity, of aligning with the truth, with love, with the highest vibration possible. And what happens with that intention is we might not at first be able to do it because we might have too much trauma in the way. And so we might be projecting all kinds of stuff and just being all crazy. But that intention is heard because the universe is conscious and we are it. And so it will begin to do that work in us. And so we just have to remain open and keep our eyes open and keep our hearts open and listen to ourselves. We have to listen to our hearts, listen to our bodies. That's how the universe speaks to us. That's how God speaks to us, is through our thoughts, our emotions, primarily our emotions and our feelings. Also through our body, our needs, our questions, our environment, the things that are happening. All of these things are the way that the universe talks to us and communicates with us. And so we want to keep our eyes open, our ears open, our hearts open, and we want to stay receptive and just let that move through us. And what's going to happen when we start on this path, inevitably, for every one of us, is as those emotions of the trauma begin to surface, it's going to hurt. And when that happens, we might think, I've been abandoned, God's abandoned me, love's not real, and we might get scared and clench up and make some more shadows and more splitting. And so we have to make a commitment that when that happens and we start to feel those emotions again, that we lean into soothing, we lean into self-care, we lean into compassion, and we allow ourselves to be informed with a new story. And so maybe where we experienced a trauma where somebody really hurt us and we lean into that pain, then we'll be infused with compassion, with an understanding about why that person hurt us. And then we'll realize that person was only treating me the way that they've been treated. That person is feeling so bad about themselves and so bad about their existence that they're just acting from their traumas and from their shadows. So as much as I want to be angry at them, I can't really. I mean, I can sometimes, but I can't really because I already know that it's not fair because they don't know what they're doing. And then it goes even deeper, and then you have so much compassion, and then you're feeling that you want to infuse them with love and you want to help them to be healed. And then what happens is that energy heals you, and that compassion heals you, that forgiveness heals you. And so it's essential, it's absolutely essential that as those feelings come up, that we not get afraid, we not get scared, but that we stay in our courage and we stay in the place of faith and of trust and allowance, and we just let in that healing love. And, we listen to ourselves. Maybe we need to call a friend to comfort us, or maybe we need a therapist. Maybe we need to see our therapist more often. Maybe we need to go to treatment. Maybe we need to go and help somebody in need. Maybe we need to just take a night and go to bed early, or, just watch a movie or take a bath or light some candles and say some prayers. Whatever we need to do to soothe ourselves, to calm ourselves, just give ourselves permission to do that. And the main thing in this process of healing is you have to listen to yourself. And it's sometimes you'll be so exhausted from this process and you need to just listen to that. You might need to sleep for days. You might need to do nothing but sleep and the essentials in your life. And that's okay. Or you might need to have a creative expression that you work on, painting or singing or dancing or whatever thing, in order to move this energy and in order for this soothing and this healing to come in. But you have to listen to yourself. It's different for all of us. And that's the only way we're gonna really heal and get through this, is make that commitment to heal. Say, I want to heal. And then when those things come up, we just rest in, we drop into allowance, and we find that soothing, and we listen, and we do what we are inspired to do. whatever it is as far as self-care and taking care of ourselves. And then we intend and we ask for that energy to become fuel so that we can transform through our traumas. It's the most powerful transformative energy that we have. And so we can, just like the person in the car accident, we can look back at our life and at our current life and in our future life. And we can have a perspective where when things happening or will happen, we have an angle of love, and we see this bigger picture, and we see everything as an opportunity rather than a tragedy. And that's the way we do this. And then what will happen is that each one of us that does this, every one of us that heals, it spreads to everybody around us. It spreads to our family, to our closest friends, and then eventually to our community, and then eventually the entire world, because we're vibrational beings and our vibration spreads. And so that is how we're going to heal this. And that's how we're going to heal this collective pain, this suffering that we're in right now. And there's nothing that's more important in the whole world right now. There's nothing more important than that we heal. Nothing. Because all of the traumas and all of the darkness that we're living out is because of unhealed trauma. So my challenge to everybody is to please take heed of what I'm saying. Let it affect you viscerally. That means not just in your mind, but in your body, in your vibration, in the very essence of what you are. Let yourself drop into the essence of what you are with the intention of becoming truly whole, with the intention of integrating all of those parts, all of those broken pieces, and making a space for them. Don't reject them. You don't want to reject any part of yourself. There's nothing in you that you want to reject. You want to accept, receive, love, soothe, make space for, make room for. And if you feel that you're so bad that you can't receive something, just remember this. Every single person on this planet, we're all part of this vibrational soup. And there's nothing that anyone has ever experienced that's not inside of every one of us, because we're fractal. And so the worst murderer on the planet, we all have that inside ourselves. And so if you want to think that you're so bad that you can't go there, well, just know we all are, and that's okay. We also are all good. We're everything. We have to allow ourselves to be the truth of who we are, which is pure goodness and pure love, and know that all of the other parts that are fragmented and broken, we just chose that. We wanted to have that as an experience, because how else are we going to learn what we are as a species and even as an entity of oneness if we don't have these experiences of contrast and fragmentation? So it's all good. Every single thing that's happening, all the fragmentation is good. All the wholeness is good. It's all good. It's all good. All of this is good. We are on a healing path, and there's no way to get out of it. And so it's so much better to just lean into it, let it happen, let yourself heal, and let your life be a reflection of that. And ultimately, let's let the whole planet be a reflection of that. And that's where we're going to get our power and fuel to create the world that we truly want moving forward. I hope that this resonated with you all. I'd love to hear your comments, your rebuttals, your questions, your own experiences in the comments. I'd love to know what you all feel is, some of the major impediments or blocks to your healing. And I'd like to work with you. And so I hope that this resonated with all of you, and that at least something is really viscerally working its way in you. And I hope that you can see your path to true liberation and true wholeness. And I hope that we can all meet together in a plane of wholeness and health and healing, where we can be joyful and frolic and play like children. And I love you all truly very much. Oh, and I'm going to be making a meditation vision journey into the space of healing. So keep your eyes out for it. I'm going to be putting that out in the next few days. Hopefully even before that. Maybe I'll even get these out together. I'm going to try. So I really love you all very much. I really, really want us all to heal, and I want this planet to heal. So I hope you all are getting this, and that you feel the same way, and that we can do this together. And as I keep saying in my videos, let's just join this force for love. And let's just do it. Let's just, all that are here right now, let's just decide, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to be conscious. I'm going to show up as love. We are going to transform this planet. I'm no longer going to be a victim. I'm no longer going to have my shadows run me, or the shadows of the collective, or anything else run me. I'm going to now be a sovereign and free human being. And I'm going to live the best life possible. And we're going to make an impression, an imprint that is going to change the planet and the trajectory of where we're at right now. Love you all so much. I hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.